Welcome back, all you fight fans, and happy One Piece Day. I am your Zoro stan, Good Luck Chuck. Let's talk facts. When I last saw you guys, we were in Logtown still, scrapping with the world government. But once the Straw Hats hit the Grand Line, they get straight to it. Liddy kitty. Party day and night. But thinking back, this was mad arrogant of them to think that there would be a welcoming party for pirates. But before we get into the millions defeated at Twin Peaks, Whiskey Peak, let's review the criteria. Fight difficulty, how tough the battle is for Zoro. Story impact, how well the bout plays into Zoro's story in becoming the world's greatest swordsman. Next, power displayed. That's the effort put into winning the battle. Lastly, strategic depth. The ability to adapt mid-battle. Alright, now let's get to these fights. Alright, legend has it, after a night of kicking it, Zoro is the only Straw Hat that is awake and is able to intercept Baroque Works' plan to collect the bounty of the Straw Hats. Zoro low-key would make a great heel. Look, playing possum already. Alright, during this bout, we see Zoro display some deceptive speed. Zoro went from the top of a building, letting some bars fly, to in the crowd of the bounty hunters, pretending to be looking up at where he was. Now, this tactic does get a good number of bounty hunters to fire on each other. Once Zoro slips the jab on Mr. 8 is where the real fun starts. He begins to test his two new swords, his Sandai Katetsu and his Yubashira. Caught by surprise, Zoro leaps into action. We even get a technique out of Zoro. Nitoryu Takanami. Fire. Zoro does get caught slipping by Miss Monday. He eats a face full of brass from this burly John, you know what I'm saying? But then my boy had Miss Monday moaning, just with one hand, just skull crushing her. You know how you get hit hard unexpectedly? I think that's why Zoro had to bring Miss Monday to her knees like that. He was annoyed. Then off pure machismo, he shuts Mr. 9 up, because he was down there yapping. Vivi tried to reach into her Nami bag to get Zoro. Almost had him though. But then Zoro finally, with the assist of Luffy, puts an end to Mr. 8. Doesn't kill him, but the plan is clearly thwarted after Mr. 8 goes down. Now let us rank this battle, okay? Fight difficulty, S rank. Taking on 100 anything is difficult. And if you add in these 100 with weapons, the survivability alone is low. Zoro pulled it out. Story impact, B rank. This was a Zoro flex mode. No swordsman to take out, but this does add more lore to the name Roanoa Zoro. Alright? Oh, that's Zoro the pirate hunter. He took down so many bounties. He even took on 100 bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak. Like, it adds more lore. Power displayed, C rank. Zoro does use one technique, but ultimately, he was just testing his swords. Strategic depth, B rank. That boy was cunning, right? He was getting them to fight each other. He was dodging. He was deceptive. Like, he was a lot of things during this battle of 100 bounty hunters, okay? Now, our next battle is kind of a secret in the Straw Hats history, but legend has it, Zoro and Luffy have a fair one. Now in this fight, we can kind of see where Luffy places his value on food, as he was so, I want to say brazen? Is that the proper word? Brash? He was so eager to defend these bounty hunters, unknown to him, for feeding him and, you know, just having a good time with him. So of course, hot-headed Luffy first to attack, but my boy Zoro got the dodges on him, okay? Weaving out of his mind. Then gets Luffy to back off by landing the first hit. Come on now. You know who he was. This is what we talking about. So that basically was to get Luffy to chill out, like, yo, let me talk, bro. Luffy is all raged out, so Zoro leans in. He masks up and goes straight for Onigiri, which stalemates with Luffy's Gum or Gamu no rocket. Then we get a trade-off. Zoro's Tatsumaki knocks Luffy up, which Luffy counters with a Gamu no pistol. So this throws them back, and when they gain their bearings, they rush right back to each other. Stalemating, then some dodges happen, then some trades happen, right? They really getting after it. Then the bounty hunter, Miss Valentine, and Mr. 5 try to intervene while they are distracted with each other, which has the Straw Hat Boys, okay, number 1, number 2, pause to take care of them. Cause don't interfere with our battle, alright? Like, we hashing it out over here. Get lost. But right when they was about to get back into it, Nami comes in, puts the kibosh to both of them, right? And tells them, hey, we gotta go get this money, okay? We got 1 billion berries we need to go handle. Now let us rank this battle. Fight difficulty, S rank. Fighting the future king of the pirates? That's a tall order of anyone, let alone a friend, okay? Story impact, B rank. This is a secret tale of captain and first mate going at it. Luffy's not a swordsman, but he is a devil fruit user. So, you know, they kind of need to hash things out sometimes. And sometimes it comes to fisticuffs, okay? This was pure machismo and passion, okay? Power displayed, A rank. Once Zoro knew that talking wouldn't work, my boy went straight into a onigiri. Like, he trying to get it done. And then he followed it up with a tatsumaki, right? We trying to blow you away. Oh yeah, he was serious. He was really trying to get Luffy up out of here. Strategic depth, C rank. He didn't try to like trap Luffy to really tell him what was going on. I think he really wanted to fight him. So we gotta chalk that up to machismo. Of course, it took over at some point. But there was some dodging that happened, okay? You know, he was able to match Luffy's power, punch for punch, so to speak. For the final act, we land in Alabasta. By this time, we know that Crocodile is pulling the biggest heist to steal a kingdom ever. See, and that's why I like Crocodile. He was so swag-goo with it. Mad drippy. Crocodile created the biggest mob in Baroque Works. And I like that name, Baroque Works. Gives a blue collar feel. Imagine giving the agents in your criminal organization stake in the kingdom that you're planning to steal. They're gonna blindly follow you, of course. And that's what happens with Baroque Works. Because they don't even know who the boss is. They don't even know who each other is. They only know code names. Mr.1, you know, Miss All Sunday, right? Nobody knows names. Just the code name you get determines your rank also. So we know that the top assassins get a number. And we've ran through a few of them. Mr. 5, Mr. 3, Mr. 4. Zoro alone did Mr. 8 and Mr. 9. For all we know, Mr. 6 might have been in that mob Zoro took out at Whiskey Peak. I mean, we meet some Elbathians, and that's kind of crazy. Crocodile's been behind that this whole time, because we know Mr. 3 was on Little Garden, where we meet the Elbathians. We also know that Crocodile's behind this civil war that's in Alabasta, and Baroque Works got big names like Miss All Sunday. Swoon, baby. Whoo-wee. Listen, getting Miss All Sunday is saucy in itself from Crocodile. And Crocodile would have gotten away with it too, if it wasn't for those meddling kids. Dog, Eiichiro Odaye had to have watched Scooby-Doo back in the day. And y'all know Scooby had a scrappy nephew, right? Think about who else has a scrappy family member. That's right, Luffy. We meet the base god Ace during this time. So a lot has happened, right? And we come back to where Zoro is looking for Nami, right? She's being chased by 2 bounty hunters. He finds her in the nick of time to stop an attack from Mr. 1. Zoro, having seen Mr. 1's destructive power firsthand, he wants to take him on. And you know Zoro had bars for Mr. 1. He called him a pawn, you know, bootlicker, a lackey. But then he starts to get serious, all right? He was hitting him with the weaves here and there, but then he finally does mask up, right? He learns of Mr. 1's double fruit, and he gave him another bar. I guess I'll have to learn to cut steel today. And then Zoro immediately goes into Santoryu. Ouch, buddy. To be quite honest, Zoro tries out a number of techniques. He tries out Onigiri, no effect. Tiger Trap, no effect. Zoro's attacks aren't working. Zoro's attacks having no effect caused Mr.1 to hit him with the Kabi Lane meme. Just no effect. So Zoro begins to struggle. Fatigue is setting in. He's being demoralized because he's seeing no effects from his attacks. So then Zoro starts to take damage here, alright? Mr.1 is starting to get his hits off. Has a whole building fall on Zoro. But Zoro's not out of the fight yet, alright? He picks the rubble up, throws it up off of it. Tremendous strength. It's crazy. And then promises that he'll cut Mr.1. Not a threat, but it is a promise. Bars. Then Zoro serves up another technique. Gazami Dory. Still nothing. Fatigued and annoyed, Zoro rushes in at Mr.1. Mr.1's got these blender forearms going. Mr.1 blender arms breaks through their stalemate, slicing and throwing Zoro. The pain and force loosens Zoro's grip on his sword. With his katanas thrown, Zoro picks himself up off the ground because he doesn't want to show his back to Mr.1. So Mr.1 comes up as Zoro is resting on this pillar, slices him again, point blank. It appears as though Mr.1 can't control what he cuts, and it slices through the pillar that is behind Zoro as well as Zoro. And after this, Mr.1's walking away in triumph, but then we get on the brink of death, doing up Zoro from the fight with Hachi. That Zoro has now entered the chat. And that Zoro is getting his groove back. Zoro has awakened this rhythm inside of him. Right? He can hear nothing but his heart beating. Before Inosuke learned total concentration breathing, Zoro was mastering beast breathing. Then he notices the rhythm of the blocks in the building and the ground, and even Mr.1's steel body, even in his swords. Hey, yo, listen. Zoro has been liberating ninjas well before Luffy. That's a double entendre. Don't even ask me how. Zoro, in his awakened state, strikes some leaves nearby. Doesn't cut them. Then he adjusts his grip. Single strike. Cuts through a limestone boulder. Clean cut. Here, Zoro seemingly has control over what he wants to cut and what he does not. So this newly awakened Zoro calls a home run. But Zoro's not a monster. He allows Mr.1 to have some last words. He uses his last words to say, "You couldn't get it done with 3 swords. What difference will 1 sword make?" See, and this is why Zoro's my boy. He is using his weakest sword style for his final attack. Zoro sheaths his Wado Ichimoji. Then he debuts his Itori Shishi Son Son, masterfully executed as he finally cuts through steel. And Zoro had to thank that black man for helping him find his rhythm. Hey, real recognize real. And that's how I know Zoro's ill. Now let us rank this battle. Fight difficulty, S rank. Zoro faces off against a devil fruit user he can't cut. His body's made of steel. Zoro is unable to cut steel at this point. Story impact, S rank. Mihawk can cut anything. So in order for Zoro to be considered one of the world's greats, he now has to cut through steel. Power displayed, S rank. Zoro uses a total of 5 of his techniques. 4 of them uncontrolled cuts and smashes, but the one was a pure cut to seal the deal. Strategic depth, S rank. There was heavy dodging, there was counters, okay? And during this battle, he had to awaken his rhythm in order to adapt to Mr.1's steel body in order to cut through. Alabasta is one of the better arcs in One Piece. Alright? If you guys want me to rank arcs? Let me know down in the comments. We can definitely get into that. But let's go ahead and wrap up the rankings for these fights. Alright, Zoro versus the 100 bounty hunters at Whiskey Peak is awarded a grand tier ranking of B rank. Okay, and the heated scuffle between Luffy and Zoro is awarded a grand tier ranking of B rank. And lastly, Zoro versus Mr.1 Daz Bonez is awarded a grand tier ranking of S rank. Without being able to cut steel, Zoro wouldn't make it in the grand line. This was a quintessential piece to his success on the Straw Hats crew. But as always, I'm your Zoro Stan. Good luck, Chuck. This is Luck Studios. Stay lucky, my friends.